There once was a couple who had a very close friend visit their apartment for drinks and dinner. They talked, ate, and drank the night away. Finally, though, the friend, as drunk as he was, noticed how late it had gotten. He bid farewell to his friends and stumbled out the door, down the steps to the street where he had parked his car. He climbed into his car and tried to start it, but to his surprise, the car wouldn't start. After cursing the make and model, he made his way back to the building and stumbled back up the stairs to their apartment. He leaned against their door and started pounding on it. Within minutes, the husband answered. The friend muttered, Frank, my car, it won't start." Frank smiled drunkenly, put his arm around his friend, and brought him inside. Frank said, "Paul, call the tow company here, use my phone." Paul made the call as Frank's wife walked in. Paul, distressed, hung up the phone in front of them. Frank's wife asked what was the matter. Paul said the tow company was only operating until midnight. Frank's wife looked at the clock on the wall and said, "It's 2 a.m, Paul. It's far too late for a tow. Why don't you stay here until morning and call then?" Frank said to his wife Alma that it was a sensational idea, but Paul was hesitant because Frank and Alma lived in a tiny studio with only a bed, a table, and a couple of chairs. Paul went to decline the offer, thinking he would sleep in his car, but Frank wouldn't hear of it. Despite the limited space, Frank insisted that Paul could bunk with them for the night. Paul felt shy about this, but Alma and Frank insisted. Frank told him to just climb in. There was definitely enough room for all of them. Alma took her side of the bed while Frank insisted that Paul sleep in the middle between him and Alma. Paul, as tired as he was, agreed, and they all got into the bed. After the lights went out, Frank was the first to fall asleep. Noticing this, Paul started to drift off as well until Alma nudged him ever so slightly and whispered, Hey, Paul." Surprised, Paul turned his attention to her and she said, So, Frank is asleep. You want to fool around?" Startled, Paul nervously scolded Alma, telling her that they were all really close friends, and if he did that, Frank would surely wake up and kill them both. Alma smirked and told Paul, "Come on, you don't know Frank like I do. He's sawing logs until morning, guaranteed." Paul was skeptical until Alma told him, "Look, I'll prove it." With that, she reached over Paul into Frank's pajamas and pulled a butt hair out, showing it to Paul. She said, "See, he's fast asleep. Nothing is going to wake him." At this revelation, Paul, in his head, said, "Screw it," and made love to Alma right then and there. After the deed was done, Paul rolled off and attempted to go to sleep until Alma nudged him once more. She said, "That was good. How about a second round?" Shocked, Paul couldn't believe what he was hearing until she told him to reach into Frank's pajamas and pull out another butt hair. Curiosity got the better of Paul, and after a moment of hesitation, he reached in and plucked a butt hair. Frank stirred for a second, but kept on sleeping, so Paul hopped on Alma and had another go. Afterwards, he tried to go back to sleep again, but Alma was insatiable and asked for another round. Each time, it was the same song and dance. Alma would ask, Paul would pull a butt hair, and then they'd go at it. This happened 5 more times. On the 9th time, when Alma asked again and Paul went to reach into Frank's pajamas to pull yet another butt hair, Frank finally awoke. He rolled over and looked Paul dead in the face. Paul froze as Frank began to speak. He said, "Paul, we're good friends, real good friends, love you to death, but please stop using my butt hairs as a scoreboard every time you bang my wife."